Joining us now from Milwaukee is former New York Republican Representative Lee Zeldin. Congressman, thank you so much for your time tonight. First off, last night will no doubt go down in the history books as a moment every American will likely remember where they were when they found out about this assassination attempt. Walk us through what you were doing and your initial reaction.
I actually had Army Reserve Duty this weekend. So I just finished up the day, got back to my hotel room, and someone alerted me that this had just taken place, put on the news, and I was just seconds after what happened, because I got that phone call from somebody who was watching it live. My first thought is about the safety of President Trump. I'm also instantly thinking about any other innocent victims. As we learned, somebody actually lost their life, others critically wounded. And as you go further beyond whether or not the threat is mitigated, which imminently is extraordinarily important, you start getting witness testimony and certain facts coming out as you learn what happened. And with regards to this shooter being on a rooftop in that close proximity to President Trump to be able to get that shot off, there are a lot of very important security questions that need prompt, thorough answers. And we're in the middle of a presidential campaign. So sometimes when Congress asks questions, it's something that maybe you get answers from months later or years later, if at all. This is a situation where any lessons that need to be learned from what took place yesterday, they need to be learned instantly to ensure that going forward, as these rallies and other campaign events are going on, that this doesn't happen again. But first and foremost, when I heard it was about the safety of President Trump and the people around him.
And how do you think that the convention will be different as a result of this?
I think that this felt like a gut punch to many Americans. We've heard from people speaking out on social media and elsewhere saying that they haven't even supported President Trump before. They expressed that they haven't liked President Trump, but in this moment, they feel compelled to speak up as Americans with pride in the way that President Trump responded, the bravery in that particular moment, and a lot of gratitude for knowing that the president was safe, that the Secret Service detail around him, like they jumped on him and they were on top of it, doing what they probably trained thousands of times to do. And as you get into this convention, there are people who are tuning in who have had their minds made up for a long time. But with these conventions, there are also people tuning in for the first time. And maybe following yesterday, if what we have read and heard on social media and elsewhere, if it means anything, there are people tuning in who are giving a real moment, a new first impression to President Trump and his message and a vision for the future of our country. But as far as the agenda goes, speakers were set, speeches were being written, themes were there, and people were preparing for a convention that seems like it's going to continue on track.
You are, unfortunately and tragically, no stranger to political violence yourself. During your run for governor back in 2022, a man with a sharp object charged onto the stage. You fortunately were uninjured. And then later in the campaign, 2 teenage boys were shot outside of your home. At the time, you said that it doesn't hit any closer to home than this. Your twin girls struggled in the period after. What would you say to someone who was at that rally last night and is themselves now struggling with the trauma of a campaign event turned into a crime scene?
This trauma is going to hit everyone at yesterday's rally a bit differently. There are people who come to these rallies who are young. They were shocked by what happened. We heard the screaming right after the shots ran out. Some people were in very close proximity to people being critically wounded or even killed. And if you're somebody who saw that up close and personal, maybe the experience is different than somebody who was further away, who actually thought that it was fireworks going off or it was some type of a prank or joke until they realized that it was something that was far more serious. For the people who are most directly impacted, especially those kids who are close to where people were wounded, where these people saw death for the first time, It's something where you need to be able to speak confidentially with people you trust, to be able to talk about what you're feeling, what you experienced. In some cases, it just takes time, but you can't leave your thoughts all bottled up. That emotion can be very dangerous, whether you are a service member who goes overseas and you're on your 6th deployment and your best friend is killed right next to you, or you're a 12-year-old showing up at a political rally and someone right near you is shot and killed during this assassination attempt. Trauma hits everybody a bit differently, but for those who are impacted, it's important that they're able to talk about it with experts and to be able to get stuff out of their system. And hopefully over the course of time, we don't see any long-term impacts for any of the rallies. But in a way, I think our country has experienced a permanent impact from what we witnessed.
And we're hearing, of course, that former President Trump is nearing or has already perhaps made his final decision on his vice presidential pick. The short list, of course, including J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Doug Burgum. What are your thoughts on who Trump should pick?
I haven't publicly endorsed anybody. I do believe that the president is right in wanting to pick someone who is able to be the president. That's massively important. And where people stand on issues and their work ethic and their chemistry with the president, their leadership style, that's all key. In the context of a campaign, I think that it's very important for a presidential ticket to continue to reach out into blue areas, to talk to longtime Democrat voters. We saw President Trump just in the last few weeks between his visit to the South Bronx, also go to Philadelphia, to go to Detroit and D.C. and elsewhere. I believe that the vice presidential nominee, in a way, is a big-time force multiplier for a campaign. Yes, can go headline a fundraiser, and that's important, but most importantly, can get out there into these areas where there are Hispanic voters and Asian voters and black voters and others who have been voting Democrat a very long time, but they're open to hearing conservative solutions to be able to make their lives better. So hopefully it's also somebody who's a good messenger for an agenda of what a Trump administration is ready to do in 2025.
Former Representative Lee Zeldin, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.